Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be doing something that I haven't done in quite a while, and that is a Hornby train set. Today's Hornby train set is this. It is the Harry Potter Hogwarts Express train set. It's one that I've wanted to try for quite some time, but I've only just gotten around to it. Now, with this train set, it's quite interesting. There's quite the mystery surrounding this set, and it's got nothing to do with Harry Potter or magic or whatever else you might expect. No, it comes from Hornby themselves. So on Hornby.com, Hornby's website, the price for this train set is £241.99. And yes, I do think that is an awful lot of money, considering you only actually get 2 coaches with this set. So as expensive as it is still incomplete. However, there is a second listing on Hornby's website, which is considerably reduced to £149.99, but the listing says that these sets have scuffed packaging. Now that is what I bought, and I can hear you saying, wow, there must be some serious scuffing on that packaging to justify knocking £92 off it, not £70 as it says on Hornby's website, because they can't do simple maths apparently, but yes, £92. Well, I'm going to show you the packaging up close. Do me a favour, if you see any of the scuffing that Hornby described, do let me know. No, not one single scuff. The packaging here is absolutely perfect. And if we look at some of the reviews on Hornby.com for the scuffed train set, there are several accounts of exactly the same thing, no scuffs present. So what is going on here? Why are Hornby letting these perfectly good train sets go at such a reduced rate? Well, I have a theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I suspect that it is. Harry Potter is big, and I suspect that Hornby thought that this train set would be a really big seller, so perhaps they had quite a lot of them made. Now, maybe the sets were too expensive, maybe they didn't sell as many as they hoped to, maybe they just want to clear out the warehouse or something like that, but they've got a lot of these sets left over. Now, the usual thing to do would be to just reduce the price, right? Just sell them off, have a bit of a sale, get rid of them. But that's a problem if you love money, like Hornby do, and also if you've sold lots of these train sets at the higher price to retailers who would then be quite cross if you then went and reduced the price. And obviously we don't think Hornby care very much about the model railway retailers these days, they've made that quite clear, but it isn't just model railway retailers we're dealing with. Harry Potter is big, and so quite a lot of high street retailers that are more high profile have these sets in stock. So I think instead of just reducing the Harry Potter train sets, Hornby have said that some of them are damaged, they've got scuffed boxes or something like that, even though clearly they haven't. And then they're selling them at £92 off. That's the cheapest price you can find them anywhere. They said that they're damaged when they're not, and this way they can sell them at the reduced price without diminishing the value, and if they're lucky, some people will come along not wanting to buy a scuffed one and still pay the full price anyway. Of course, that is just my theory, it could be wrong, but nothing else really makes sense. I mean, there's no scuffing on the box. If you do a search on Hornby's website for scuffed packaging or scuffed, Harry Potter set is the only thing that comes up, and I find it hard to believe that this is the only set that gets scuffed at Hornby, even though it isn't scuffed anyway. And there's also an awful lot of reviews, 69 nice reviews, and I didn't leave a review, so there's at least 70 scuffed Harry Potter train sets they've sold, and I wonder how many other people didn't leave a review. So I think that's what's happened. It's just like classic Hornby, really, isn't it? Clever, but also not clever if you're sort of more than 11 years old and you've got a basic idea of logic, but I could be completely wrong. If you've got a theory, do let me know. So if you want to get one of these train sets, don't do what I suspect Hornby want you to do and pay the whole full £241. Get the scuffed version. There's a very good chance you will get it in perfect condition. I don't know why they haven't just scuffed them themselves and then just avoided this whole suspicious thing. Maybe they started doing that and then gave up. Maybe they'll start again now that I've said this on video, but either way, it's a much better price, isn't it? Even if the packaging is scuffed. So let's take a look, let's see what it's like. So apart from not being scuffed in any way, the packaging is pretty cool, isn't it? Not the usual Hornby packaging, and I do love the Harry Potter styling of it. I've also noticed that they've parked this truly psychotic photo of Harold Trotter himself right over where the rest of the Hogwarts Express train would be, cleverly hiding the fact that this set is horribly incomplete with just 2 coaches. I don't know about that. It's going to look a bit shoddy with just 2 coaches, isn't it? But if I lift up the set, you can see what it contains. So we've got the Loco and just the 2 coaches. The red device there, which is a railer or a re-railer, which helps you put the train on the track very easily. Then you've got the track itself, you've got some curves, a set of points, which is a nice inclusion. And then on the end there, the horrible Hornby controller. That's the old version, unfortunately. But you're not getting a controller of high quality in this train set, unfortunately. I mean, the transformer that plugs into the wall costs £27 on Hornby.com. You can get those for like a tenner on Amazon or whatever. So let me show you the back of the box. Bear with me. So the product code for this, if you want to look it up, is R1234. Really? All right, it probably is then. And then you've got a few of the other accessories that you can also buy at high prices if you want to. And yes, of course, the extra coaches are available too if you want to complete the set. But for now, let's stop looking at the box because that's dull, and let's get the thing out and see what you get inside. I got to say, I am excited about this. It's a pretty cool set, isn't it, by the looks of things? So yeah, this ought to be a fun one, I think. Okay, out it comes. It's an egg box. But immediately I've noticed that the Loco seems to be in clamshell packaging, so that's really good to see. It is only a Hornby Railroad Loco, which means it's a basic lower range model, but it is quite detailed for a Railroad Loco, so it's good that it's got its own packaging there. So, you know what, I don't think we'll go through the paperwork. You can do if you want to, but I've reviewed a whole class before, so if you want to see that, check out the video. I'll put the link up there, and it's going to be exactly the same as other train sets I've looked at. If you want to see one of those where I do go through the paperwork, again, I'll put a link up there. But let's get a look at the train set itself, shall we? Let's look at the most important part of it first, which is the locomotive. So it's in like a budget version, a condensed version of their usual packaging, I would say. So let's just get this out and take a look. Of course, I have looked at one of these locos before. It is the Hornby Railroad Hall class, not the Castle class. A lot of people correct me when I say that. No, it's a Castle class. Nope, it's a Hall. You would be forgiven for thinking it was a Castle class because it's called Hogwarts Castle. And Hornby even made that mistake themselves with the first Harry Potter releases. They used a Castle class, but it was a Hall, Alton Hall. And this is the model of Alton Hall, as I understand it, but it's undergone a few changes. It says Hogwarts Castle on it, of course. It's got the very nice Hogwarts Express nameplate on the front, and it's got a lamp fitted to the front of the smoke box. Well, I say a lamp, it isn't a lamp, it's just an LED poking through the front. The engine in the film has a proper lamp on the front. It doesn't have just a giant light sticking out the front, but I guess it's pretty cool that this has got lights. Yeah, that's not bad at all. And the Loco itself we will look at in just a second in a little bit more detail. But they're okay. Yeah, these are pretty decent models, fairly good quality. Details all right, mechanism not the best in the world, but we'll see that later on for ourselves. Let's take a look at some of the coaches then, well, 2 of them. So, this is something that interests me. Are these railroad coaches, or are they sort of high quality Railways Mark 1s? I think they could be the latter. So this is the non-brake corridor coach. No, I don't think this is the railroad coach. It does seem to be fairly well detailed, but the full price for a coach on its own from Hornby is £44.99. And I can tell you right now that this coach is not worth that. Yeah, it looks like a fairly old tooling, this. But okay, better than the railroad stuff, that's for sure. And let's take a look at the second coach. I think this is the brake. So you'd put this at the back, I suppose, even though they've got it at the front, on the front of the box. But you can do whatever you like, of course. So yeah, very similar, probably the same chassis on this coach. But of course it's got the brake body on it. So yeah, it's all right. I think the coaches are much better than I've seen before in a train set. That's definitely true. And the same is true of the Loco as well, actually. Okay, very quickly, let's take a look at the track and the other accessories you get. So first thing is the railer, or the re-railer. So it's a bit of cheap plastic, but if you are new to Hornby and model railways and train sets, it can be very handy for putting things onto the track quickly. So that's good. And then we've got some third radius curves. I think it should be 8 of these to make up a circuit. And these are nice wide curves, which means you can put basically any Hornby loco onto them, regardless of its size. So that's expandable, which is good. You've got a couple of the long straights, which means you can make quite a large oval of track, an elongated oval, which is good as well. And then we've got the set of points, as well as the curve for correcting the point, and also some shorter straights for a siding for you to shunt the coaches in and out of, I suppose. And then you've also got the power track, which allows you to connect up the controller. Oh, goodness. Thought we'd seen the last of these hideous controllers, but no, we've still got it. I don't recommend using these controllers, really. They're useless. They do the job, don't get me wrong, so, you know, if you don't want to go out and buy a new controller, you don't have to. But if you want to get serious about model railways, then I would recommend getting a better controller than that. Gauge Master are pretty good. And then we've got this is the buffer stop, that goes on the end of the siding, so that's pretty cool, nice to get that. Then we've got an accessories bag, so this is unusual for a train set, to get things like cylinder drain cocks included, but yeah, so they go on the bottom of the cylinders of the loco, if you're interested. And then you've also got a spare coupling, which I suppose is probably for the front of the loco, so you can put that in and then you can pull the carriages from the front of the engine, if that's what you want to do. And then, oh, crike, we've saved the best until last, folks. Right, look at this. I'm going to have to be careful with how I hold this. So, this is an adapter. It's 19 volts at half an amp, so ooh, that's some high power stuff right there. And if you wanted to buy this thing from Hornby.com, it would cost you £27.49. That is the most insane rip-off I think I have ever been party to. Hornby are madmen. Like I say, if you want to get one of these, you can get something similar from Amazon for much, much less than that. Or heck, you could probably build your own for cheaper than that if you wanted to go to the trouble. Anyway, I think that's everything. Right, so let's have a close look at the loco then. We'll look at the quality, the level of detail, and we'll take a look at one of the coaches as well to see what they're like. All right, should be fun. So there she is, up close and personal for you, the Hogwarts Castle locomotive. And I think this is by far the best item in the train set. It's a decent locomotive, the quality is alright. I think this is actually the best loco I've ever had personally out of a Hornby train set. Very, very good indeed. As I say, this is a Hornby railroad model, which means it's not top of Hornby's range, it's not the most quality or detailed loco in the world. But as I also say, this is one of Hornby's better railroad locos. So let's start taking a quick look at some of the features. It's quite a lightweight loco this. It comes in at just 271 grams, which is less than a Bachmann City class, for those of you who know what that is. But it is more than enough for this loco to haul the coaches that it came with, plus a few others. I think in the films, the engine was hauling 4 coaches. Well, this thing will do that without any problems at all, so that's not a huge deal. But that does mean that the bodywork here and also the running plate, which is often metal on quality locos, isn't. Those are just made of plastic. But the paintwork is fantastic. If you look at the side of the cab, you've got some nice paintwork and lining. The boiler, again, very high quality lining. This is the sort of quality lining you'd expect on a top of the range loco, which is great. The Hogwarts Castle nameplate here is an etched nameplate, so that's real good quality. I like that a lot. Although the one on the front of the loco is just plastic, I believe, and quite a fragile piece that, so you do want to be careful. There's a better look at that horrible lamp. Yeah, it's not a lamp, it's just an LED sticking out there. So not a realistic bit of modelling, but quite cool that the loco has lights. That is something that the original Hornby Hall class did not have. The detailing is pretty good actually, as you can see lots of riveting on the running plate, and we've also got the lamp irons moulded onto that as well. Nice realistic looking buffer beam with metal buffers, but these are not sprung buffers, so that's what it is, isn't it? Fair enough. The model has nice realistic coupling and connecting rods, as well as a nice crosshead there for the cylinders. That's all good quality, and the wheels have fully moulded faces as well, so that they look good and realistic. You've got fine wire handrails on the model, as well as a metal reverser rod, which is again a really good quality feature for a train set Loco. We do, however, just have plastic moulded whistles, a plastic moulded bonnet, and a painted plastic chimney instead of a real copper one. So again, this is not a top of the range locomotive, and similarly it is missing features such as detailing or valve gear between the frames. And while the cab windows are glazed, and while there is a lot of internal cab detail, none of it is painted, so it doesn't stand out quite as well as it would on a higher spec model. The tender then is much the same story. The decoration is great. I mean, that is top quality decoration, very, very good. The handrails and such in some places are just part of the moulding, so again, not the greatest quality in the world. But the coal load is okay, yeah, it's not too bad looking. Few tender controls, bit of detail around the back, including the pre-fitted vacuum pipe, which is nice to see. And then you've got the tension lock coupling, which will match those on the coaches on the back. And then the tender underframe is well detailed. Well, it's decently detailed, as you can see. It does include a water scoop, which is a nice feature, and all of the brake rigging is pre-fitted as well. The same is true on the locomotive. So this model is absolutely fine. Like I say, the best part of the train set, and if you were to buy this locomotive on its own, the RRP is £119.99, and from the other retailers it would be around £100, a little bit less. When you consider what the rest of Hornby's prices are like these days, that is definitely not too bad at all. So the Loco is a big thumbs up. It's not the greatest in the world, but for a train set Loco, it's just the job. And here's a quick look at one of the coaches. Again, a little bit like the Loco, this is of a higher quality than you would usually expect to see coming out of a train set, but it's not quite at the same standard as the locomotive, I would say. And the RRP for these coaches of £44.99 is significantly less reasonable than the locomotive. But the decoration is good. As you can see, the lining is all good quality, and there's quite a bit of it as well. You have got the Hogwarts Railways crest printed onto there as well, which is really cool, as well as the specific Hogwarts running numbers, I believe, which are in a slightly different font to usual. The bogie detailing is pretty good. As you can see, you've got all of the axle boxes and springs moulded in there, and the underframe detail's not too bad. It is all plastic, of course, as you'd expect, but there's a fair amount of underframe detail there, as you can see. Besides that though, the model is fairly basic. All of the grab rails and the door handles and such, those are all just a part of the moulding, and the same is true of any pipework or cabling or other parts on the ends of the coaches, and that goes for the roof furniture as well, which is all part of the moulding. So quite a basic coach where that's concerned. We do have nicely glazed windows though. The glazing there looks fairly modern and flush with the outside of the bodies. And there is a little bit of internal detailing. You can see we've got seats and the compartments moulded. But of course this set did not come with any miniature figures or anything like that. I think that would have made this set really quite special, to see some characters sitting inside the coaches, or at least to have included those as an optional extra for the customer to fit. I think that would have been pretty cool, but no, that wasn't to be. And then we've got the NEM couplings, which are part of the bogies, you'll be pleased to hear, which is a nice simple way of doing things, and hopefully they will all couple up as they should do when we get this onto the track. So decent coaches, a bit expensive I think for what they are, but pretty impressive overall coming out of a train set. So now I'm going to quickly set up the track that this train set came with. I'll connect everything together and then we'll give this a test and see what the performance is like. Okay, so that is the whole train set all put together and ready to go. If you want to know more about getting started with train sets and model trains, I will include a link in the top right to my video about getting started with train sets and model trains, but it's fairly straightforward, there's not a lot to it. And this is what the set looks like all put together. I think for the most part of £250, this is a little bit lackluster, isn't it? I think an extra couple of coaches to make it more realistic would have been really good to see included with this set. And as you can also see, the track is just down onto the carpet because no track mat was provided. Now obviously Hornby's normal track mat is not Harry Potter themed, so it would have meant having to develop a Harry Potter themed track mat, but again, for nearly 250 quid, a little bit of work in designing a new track mat shouldn't have been too much to ask for. So yeah, it's not recommended to run directly onto the carpet. I know that's hypocritical of me, but yeah, it's not ideal, is it? Anyway, I've filmed the performance test, so I'll show you that in just a second. I just wanted to talk very quickly about the Loco's mechanism for anyone who's interested. It's alright actually, overall, yeah, it's not too bad. Not quite up to Hornby's usual standards though. Pickup wise though, it's good. So we've got copper pickups touching the tender wheels, so that's how the Loco gets power. And then all of the Loco driving wheels also have pickups as well, so loads of pickups. That should make the Loco good and reliable. The base keeper plate is removable with a series of screws, which means that you can remove it for cleaning and maintenance, and it also gives you good access to the axles. But there are no proper bearings on the driving wheels, and I think that is a fairly poor quality feature. The chassis is die-cast and fairly minimal, as you can see. This is just a 3-pole motor, but it does have a flywheel, so again, not the greatest quality, but probably fine for a train set. And this is the LED circuit board, which just contains a capacitor and a rectifier. And of course the capacitor should allow a nice smooth output from the LED, but it does mean that if you were to DCC fit this locomotive for digital operation, you would not have any control over that LED, it would just be on all the time. And incidentally, if you want to DCC fit this loco, the decoder socket is going to be inside the tender. In terms of gauge, 14.2mm back to back, that's more or less about what you see from Hornby normally, so I don't think that will cause any problems. Now then, let's move on and look at the performance test. Time for that first test then. Now bear in mind I am using the controller at the moment that came with this train set, so it's not necessarily going to perform the same as it will on my Gauge Master controller, which is the one I use normally, and I will show you how this loco performs on that in just a second. But on the train set controller it came with, does it work? Okay, yes it does. The LED on the front of the Loco is really, unfortunately, a very cool white. What are they thinking with that? I mean, bulbs, lamps, they don't produce that sort of colour temperature. So why we've got such a high temperature light on the front there, I'm not sure. But it looks awful, and the front of the box definitely showed a warmer white, or cooler if we're going on temperature. That's confusing, isn't it? So yeah, that really doesn't look great. I'm not sure why they decided to do that. But I think the light is capacitor smoothed. Yeah, it does seem to be. So it's not going to be flickering as it goes along, which is good. So I'm now going to let this run in. Running in is quite important with new locos and new model trains. Just have to let them run for about 30 minutes in each direction, ideally without a load, but these two coaches are not going to make much of a difference here. So I'm going to do that. That just helps everything to bed in, and it helps the motor to bed in as well. And after it's done that, you might see an improvement in performance. So I'm going to let this run in, and then we'll have a look at the crawl after it's done that. And I'll put it onto my main layout and see how it gets on there. But at the moment, it seems to be working just fine. Okay, we are back. That is running in finished. I took the coaches off in the end. There wasn't a problem with them or anything. I just decided I would run the loco in without them. So running in went without a problem at all, absolutely fine. The pulling power was not too bad at 0.27 newtons, so that should allow this to haul around, what, 18 coaches? Yeah, 18 coaches on straight and level track, so that's absolutely fine. But how is the crawl? Generally, the Hornby hauls are pretty good, even despite the 3-pole motor, but let's see what this one's like. On the Hornby train set controller. Okay, so not brilliant, but these are not great controllers, so this is probably more of a reflection of the controller than it is the loco, but if I'm really careful, that's a pretty good crawl. Yeah, it is cogging a little bit, but I think that's fairly expected on a 3-pole motor. Yeah, that's not bad. Of course, it's not the most controlled crawl in the world, but I would say, again, if you consider this as a train set loco, yeah, that's not bad. It's not very smooth though, it does tend to speed up a bit and slow down. See that? I was not twiddling the controller to make it do that. So yeah, I mean, it's alright, it's okay. I think what I will do though is put this onto my main track and test it with the usual controller, and then I think that's a bit more of a fair comparison. So let's do that. So I think it might be good just to test the points, just to make sure that they work. As you can see, I've put the point facing inside the oval, and that's a bit of a space-saving tip for you if you don't have that much room. But yeah, let's open the point and reverse the train inside, or as much of it as we can. The siding included is not actually long enough to take the whole train, which is, again, interesting. But I would recommend buying a train set, even if you're not going to get this one. I would recommend buying a train set that includes points, because then you've got a bit more to do besides just watch the train going round and round in circles. So up to the buffer stop, there isn't actually enough room to hold both of the coaches in the sidings either. I suppose if I was to remove the buffer stop, then maybe I could. Let's go a bit further. Right up to the edge, so maybe just about. Let's uncouple, see if we can get the Loco past with the train still on the track, but definitely not with the buffer stop included, unfortunately. I suppose you could try and rejig the track a little bit so that the oval is smaller, and then you'd have a bit more track for the siding. But yeah, the siding that I've got set up there is as intended. That's the length of it shown on the box. Are we going to get clear there? Better slow down. Yeah, just about. So that's not too bad, is it? And then you can go and pick up the coaches again. Let's see if the coupling works on the curve. That should be interesting. Oh, nearly knocked the coaches off. That wouldn't be good. But yeah, absolutely fine performance over the points there, no problem. Just remember to shut them again. So the train set itself seems to be perfectly functional, which is great. So I really like the Gauge Master controller that I use. It runs Locos a lot more quietly than the Hornby train set controller does. The Hornby train set controller uses quite a spiky PWM. I think the Gauge Master still uses PWM, but it's obviously a bit smoother because the Loco is more or less silent when run on this controller. Yeah, it just seems smoother as well somehow, so I don't know. But is the crawl any better on my normal controller? Let's see. I'm just turning it up, I haven't gone silent. So again, very slow and controlled, but cogging quite a bit, in fact possibly even more. So maybe the PWM on the Hornby train set controller, maybe it offers better control, but I like this better because it's, it's quieter, and a good quality mechanism can crawl excellently, as we've seen. Let's go a bit faster. Now it's still doing what it was doing before then with the speeding up and slowing down, as you can see. So yeah, the crawl is about the same as some of the other Hornby hauls I've looked at, but it doesn't seem quite as well balanced as some of them. I suppose that's just a quality thing, isn't it? Perhaps just a little bit of inconsistency there. Anyway, let's couple up to the coaches and let's see it go around my track. Here we go. So as you can see, perfectly functional, works as it should. The coaches are nice and simple, but they don't cause derailments, and the couplings are a reasonable design. They're not overcomplicated or anything like that. So from that perspective, absolutely fine. I really don't like the LED that Hornby have put into this Loco, and they seem to be aware that it should be a warm white LED because, like I say, the picture on the box definitely shows a warm white LED. So I don't know how much money, how many pence they've saved by putting cool white in there. Maybe it was an accident, maybe they're not aware that cool white has been used, I'm not sure. But it doesn't look great, and I might even change that at some point. But that's not a huge complaint, I don't suppose. Overall, it's a decent train set. It's a very, very good Loco and a good set of coaches for a train set, much better than you normally get, so that ought to be celebrated. I do think though that the RRP is asking a little bit much. I think you would expect a bit more for your money if you had paid that full price, but at the heavily reduced rate that I paid, absolutely fine. Very, very good value for money, in fact. Let's do some ratings then for the Hornby Harry Potter train set. Now, you must bear in mind that my rating system is designed for serious models, and this is a novelty train set, so the rating system here doesn't really play to this train set's strengths, but the reason I do this is so that you can see how it stacks up against other models. So the level of detail then, I've had to look at both the coaches and the Loco for this. I think the Loco would have been 3.5 because the level of detail is pretty decent actually. Not quite up to the maximum standards that you'd see from the Hornby Railways range because it doesn't have sprung buffers or painted cab or anything like that, but for what it is, and particularly for a train set Loco, really decent. The coaches aren't quite as good. I would have given those 2.5 star because they are much simpler, so I'll split the difference there and give this 3 star on detail. The performance is okay. I have seen haul classes from Hornby perform better than this. The crawl isn't the greatest. There doesn't seem to be that much torque at the low end. Not sure why that would be. The LED wouldn't draw that much power, so that's not going to be affecting things, I don't think. Maybe I just got unlucky. Maybe it will get better as it runs in, but at the moment it's performing at about a 3-star. At the higher speeds, no problem at all. Fine on points and that sort of thing, no problem. The pulling power then at 0.27 newtons is around 18 coaches on straight and level track, so I think that's absolutely fine. The mechanism I've given 3-star. Overall it's a bit of a mixed mechanism. I do like the fact that it's got lots of pickups and nice easy access for maintenance and servicing purposes, but the lack of proper bearings and the slightly poor quality 3-pole motor are unfortunate, I think, so I've given it 3-star. The quality then, again, is pretty good. The build quality, I have to say, is really decent. If the mechanism was slightly higher quality and there was perhaps a bit of die cast on the Loco body, then I would have been able to give this a higher mechanism score. But for a train set, I would say the quality is absolutely fine. Value for money then, I think with the RRP at £241.99, I would give that 2-star. However, for £149.99, which I paid for the supposedly scuffed packaging, the value for money is fantastic, at more like a 5-star. So again, I've split the difference there and given this 3.5-star overall. At the right price, this is a good train set, definitely. Overall then, that is an overall score of 6.38 out of 10. Let's pop that into the logbook. And there it is, 13th, just above the EFE Class 35 and below Hornby's 060 Sentinel. Yeah, it's a decent train set. I wish it had a bit more in it, some miniatures, maybe a bit of scenery, a couple of extra coaches would have really made this train set shine, but as it is, not too bad. So thank you so much for watching, folks. I do hope you enjoyed this review. Overall, I can recommend the Harry Potter train set from Hornby, although don't spend too much on it. Like I say, the RRP, not worth it in my opinion. But I hope you've enjoyed seeing the train set. It has been fun, and I've certainly enjoyed myself, so that was good. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon for some more reviews. Alright, cheers folks, take care.